It is time for us to get some local history into our ears right now, and we do that with History Out There. And Harold Peacock, good morning, mate.
Yes, good morning, Damo. This is cold weather, but this is a hot story driving north.
Yes. Well, and 101 years ago, where they started off from the Darling Downs.
That's right, and this is the earliest documented motorist drive to Darwin from Queensland. So I'll tell you about it. It was in 1925. Four amazing men from Warwick decided to go on an historic adventure, which until today has been pretty much forgotten. Now, leader of the group was Mr. Alfred Hardacre. He'd recently lost his wife and retired as manager of the Warwick branch of the National Bank of Australasia. He'd also run branches in Ipswich and Rockhampton and was considered the best manager in the state. Then there was the fascinating American Douglas Tillman. Now, he was probably one of the two financiers of the adventure. He was a manager of the Warwick branch of the Primary Producers Bank of Australia. He would go on to be town clerk in Berry and Yass in New South Wales. But interestingly, he was a member of one of the most prominent families in Maryland in the US. His ancestors included the chairman of Maryland's provisional government during the American Revolution, the confidential secretary to George Washington, a chief judge of the United States Circuit Court, and an uncle was Maryland's Secretary of State. Now, the other financier was Warwick dentist Hugh Marsh, who later became an oil and gold miner. Now, Mr. Marsh had served in Gallipoli during the First World War and been awarded the Military Cross of Bravery, and the waiting room at his dental surgery in Warwick was filled with a huge array of war trophies. So much so that patients would arrive hours early to see a collection of British, French and German firearms, a gas mask, tin hat, explosive shells, collection of European coins and paper money, photos and maps, a German sandbag made entirely of woven paper. And on the walls was a magnificent series of oil paintings of Egyptian scenery. And the fourth member of the party was the owner of the Warwick Motor Company, Mr. William Johnston. Now, he sourced the vehicle for the trip. Now, Johnston served in both world wars, including at Gallipoli, and he survived unscathed. Other than when returning on leave during the Second War, he was clubbed by his wife and her lover as he headed his home. Anyway, on the 12th of May 1925, the four men set out from Warwick in a new American car, a Willys Knight that had been imported from Ohio. They went via Gundawindi, St George, Augustella, Longreach, Winton, Cloncurry, Camberwell, and then across the border to Brunet Downs, Newcastle Waters, Catherine, and on to Darwin.
Right.
Now, for some of the truckless country, the grass was higher than the bonnet of the car. One day they could cover no more than 2.5 miles, and another time, because of the roughness of the ground, they had to drive 25 miles in first gear. Imagine that. Now, the car, the Willys Knight, remarkably remained undamaged for the whole trip, other than a bent mudguard. They managed the 2,500 miles without rushing, arriving in Darwin on the evening of Friday the 5th of June after 21 days actual travelling time. Now, for the return journey, they shipped the car and themselves back to Brisbane aboard the steamer Montoro, which was leaving Darwin actually the very next day after they arrived. So they didn't stay in Darwin, they just got there and wanted to get home to Warwick. Now, Warwick's Hardacre journey, this was not as well documented compared to its contemporaries, but it really does matter historically. I'll tell you why. The first car ever driven into Darwin arrived a fair bit early in 1908, which was the first south-north crossing of Australia by car. Now, exploration by cars became popular in the 1920s when the famous Westwood Davies Bubsy car reached Darwin in August 1925, which was after Hardacre, but they left from Perth. The Captain White Transcontinental Motor Party reached Darwin in late June 1925, also after Hardacre, just by weeks, Plus, they started in Adelaide, not Queensland. This means that Warwick's Hardacre Party were pioneers of the Queensland-Darwin overland route, predating the more famous expeditions that you may have heard of, making them probably the first party ever to drive into Darwin from any eastern state of Australia.
Wow. That is a big call, isn't it?
That's right, and this is new research. Hardacre, the Warwick people, they had some photos in the paper at the time, which I'll publish online, but they really haven't been heard of, and they should be acknowledged. The first car to drive from the eastern states of Australia to Darwin, that's a big move, and if you go through those towns I mentioned, you can plot exactly where they went. It's hard to drive that way today, let alone back in 1925.
Yeah, geez, it would have been a rough old trip, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, look, it won't be rough for me because I'm actually going to the Northern Territory tomorrow and I'll be exploring the Mary River, which, did you know, has the highest concentration of saltwater crocodiles in the world?
Well, don't go swimming.
Yeah, but I am going to the Tiwi Islands football grand final to showcase how sport can be celebrated without alcohol. They just love it there and they don't need a drink. And I'm raising money for the charity Drug Arm.
Right.
Is it okay? Can I give the Tiwi Islands Hike for Health a plug here?
You certainly can.
Oh, thank you. So I just did. Listeners can donate, by looking for the link to the Tiwi Islands Hike for Health on my website, which is historyoutofthere.com. And as always, I'll be posting this story on my website, Queensland's first drive to Darwin. In fact, the East Coast's first drive to Darwin, and Warwick claims that piece of history.
There you go. Oh, mate, we need to jump onto the website, not just to read that story, but also to make a donation to your charity efforts for Drug Arm, a great organisation, and they do tremendous work, don't they?
They absolutely do, and you'll see them in Toowoomba and so on, a lot of work. You see street vans out there, which that's funded by donors. It's not government funded, so all the help to help people make better decisions for themselves and reduce the harms of alcohol and other drugs.
Exactly. So get onto it, historyouththere.com, mate. You have a safe trip, and we won't catch up with you next week, but we'll look forward to talking again in a couple of weeks' time.
Looking forward to it. Yes, I'm out of communication for a little bit, but hopefully I've got some good stories to tell you when I get back.
I look forward to it, mate. You take care.
See you then.
There we go. That is Harold Peacock from History Out There. Jump onto the website, historyouththere.com. You can read about that story and also, more importantly, make a donation to Harold's fundraising efforts for Drug Arm. It is a great charity. We'll take a break. Back in a moment.